Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Welcome to episode 58 of Childless and Moving Onward. I'm your host, Gail Miller. I'm a physician, life coach, speaker, and I am childless by circumstance and not by choice. Now, you may be wondering about the title of this episode, Who Ties Your Laces? And that's going to be cleared up very shortly, but it has to do with a quote that I read. But the topic that I'm diving into today is empathy and boundaries. And it came up when I read a quote that struck me. For those of you who don't know me, I love quotes. I have a wall of plaques filled with quotes. Cute, helpful, snarky, they run the gamut. But this one, I think I read it on social media. This one really caught my eye recently. And the quote was, "Don't let anyone who hasn't been in your shoes tell you how to tie your laces." I love the meaning behind this. It's saying that people who haven't experienced your unique challenges, your unique struggles or life circumstances have no place in telling you how to handle them. It highlights the importance of trusting your own lived experience. It stresses the need for trust in your own intuition instead of judgment from others who don't have a firsthand understanding of what you have gone through or what you are going through. What does this have to do with being childless not by choice? A lot. First is the judgment from others about how you refer to yourself. Childless, not by choice. There's no shortage of people who will criticize your terminology and that they'll tell you, you made a choice. When in fact, you made a decision based on experiences they have not gone through. You made a decision that's often between equally unwanted options. Now, even within the community of childless not by choice, there's not agreement on the term to use, and some will be critical. Some understandably don't like the word childless because of the less part, as if you're saying that being without children makes you less than, which just furthers society's view of us. On the other hand, some are understandably also don't like the term child-free because it implies this is a desirable state for us when it's not. So even within this community, there's no agreement and sometimes there's judgment. Personally, my take on the terminology is to use what feels right to you. And then next is the criticism of what we've each been through. If you have a chronic illness and you decided not to have children because it would risk your health, or because you wouldn't be able to take care of a child, there will be people who will criticize you in so many ways. They'll say you caused your illness. What? Or you're being selfish for not risking your health. So many ways in which, that's just the beginning, but so many ways in which they're going to judge you and tell you you're wrong. Or how about if you haven't found the right partner and decided not to be a single parent? I remember one particular incident with someone and the incredible hypocrisy. When I was single, I made the decision not to become a single mom. I've talked about the reasons for that elsewhere. Right now, that's kind of a longer story, but I decided not to become a single mom. And as I was describing this to someone when I was telling a bit of my story, it was willingly. It wasn't something where somebody asked and I was like, oh, what are you doing? It was introducing ourselves, and I willingly talked about my situation and that the first part of my life, I didn't find the partner that I wanted, and I decided becoming a single parent for the reasons at that time was not right for me. Well, one person's response was to tell me that since I had that choice and I didn't take it, then my being childless was by choice. I can't say that it's not by choice. Now, obviously, my interpretation of her tone is subjective, but my take on it is that it wasn't a pleasant or understanding tone. It was a sharp, cutting tone, and it was full of judgment about me not making the choice to be a single mom, or at least that was my impression. But what's so what's the word, telling or interesting, we'll say, that's not quite it, but is that not too much later she was gossiping with someone about a third person. And get this, she was criticizing the third person because she was pregnant and, yep, you guessed it, pregnant and not married. I mean, the hypocrisy, the judgment, there's no pleasing people. Not that she was ever somebody I would worry about pleasing, but these are the situations that we find ourselves in. Then there's the judgment about criticism about staying with a partner who doesn't want children, or maybe doesn't want more if they already have children with another partner. And then let's not forget those who have gone through fertility treatments who decided to stop. They're told they made a choice. Some will say they gave up. No, they did not. Or those who have infertility but can't afford the treatments. Again, they're told they made a choice. No one knows what this is like but the person going through it. Even if you have done IVF and you were successful, you don't know exactly what someone else's experience is. You don't know their health. You don't know their particular circumstances. No, they did not make a choice. They made a decision between two unwanted options. Stopping treatment or not going through treatment that takes an immeasurable toll on physical, mental, and emotional health, not to mention finances. Or the other option is continuing with excruciatingly difficult procedures that turn your life upside down and often give you hope, only to have that hope dashed. These are only a few of the situations. There are so many different paths to childlessness, too many to go through. But the bottom line is that no one other than you knows what it's like to be in your shoes or has the right to judge or criticize. Yet there's no shortage of those who will criticize, shame you, judge, and sometimes even ridicule what you've been through and how you handle it. Now let's go back to that quote again. Don't let anyone who hasn't been in your shoes tell you how to tie your laces. It highlights that the expert on your life is you. Only you know the experiences you've been through. Only you know the depth of your emotions, struggles, and the context. No one else, even if they say they went through the same thing, no one else faced your particular circumstances. There is always nuance, always complexity that nobody else understands. Others' perspectives may not be and often are not helpful. Remind yourself not to let their lack of understanding influence your decisions or your self-worth. This quote encourages self-trust and empowerment. you have the ability to tie your laces. In other words, you have the power to navigate your life in a way that works best for you. Others don't have to agree or understand. You don't need others to validate how you navigate life. Listen to episode 57 to hear more about validation and why self-validation is key instead of waiting for others to validate your life and your actions. What I also love about this quote is that it encourages boundaries. Others will try to impose their opinions on you without a shred of experience with your reality. And the phrase also suggests that setting boundaries with people who may try to impose their opinions, they're doing it without fully grasping your reality. Their opinions and advice aren't needed. Feel free to say, thanks, I got it. Or even be direct and say, stop. I'm not asking you for your opinion or advice. This quote is a reminder that not all advice is relevant, and certainly not all of it is worth internalizing. Now, boundaries are often kind of demonized as being rude to others or hurtful. But what's rude and hurtful is for others to impose their uneducated opinions on you. Their opinions and advice that are based on not being in your experience. Boundaries aren't a tool to hurt others. They are a way of protecting your well-being. Unsolicited advice or opinions can feel intrusive, and that's because they usually are, especially when they're given with no understanding of your unique situation. So you take control of the narrative when you set clear boundaries so that external voices don't overshadow your inner wisdom. The point isn't to dismiss, but to recognize that you don't need to consider every opinion, especially when the opinions and advice aren't coming from a place of empathy or experience. What's especially significant to me is that this quote empowers you to trust yourself and your ability to navigate your own life, your own circumstances, your own challenges, and also your own good experiences. I do really believe that generally people mean well when they give advice, but it's often advice that is useless because it doesn't take into account your personal experience. Sometimes advice is even harmful. But by politely but firmly redirecting these conversations, you affirm that you are capable of making decisions that align with your needs and your values. It's a way of saying, I know myself better than anyone else, and I trust my judgment. In the end, what's so great about this quote is that it's a reminder to prioritize trusting yourself over external validation. Again, if you haven't listened to episode 57, it's going to give you more clarity about the importance of self-validation. Remember that while some advice may be valuable, it's equally important to really pay attention and distinguish between what truly resonates with your situation and what doesn't. And the only person who knows that is you. Setting boundaries isn't just about keeping unhelpful opinions out. It's also about creating space to hear and honor your own voice. That respects your experiences and gives you the freedom to live on your terms in a way that's authentic for you. So in short, it's about trusting yourself and being selective about whose opinions you allow to influence your journey. This journey of navigating unwanted childlessness is challenging, it's complex, and it's very individual. Trust your inner voice about how you manage this and ignore the opinions and the advice that don't matter. All right, that's it for today, and I will be back with you next week. I'm so glad you joined me. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, you can find more tips, insight, and support in a private space with other women who are like you, so they get you. You can do that by joining my free Facebook group, When Being Childless Isn't by Choice. Join us by clicking on the link in the show notes. You can also stay up to date with me on Instagram at Childless Path Onward and Facebook and YouTube at Path Onward. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.